Well, friends, you're not going to want to miss a single episode of 100 Huntley this month. We have an amazing guest with us. His name is Pastor Kevin Butcher. He's the author of this new book, Choose and Choose Again. Kevin, I want to talk about how does a pastor who's doing well, who's got good credentials and is in a nice church, how does a pastor who's doing that well get to where he wants to take his life? Let me quote something from your book I thought was really identifiable with a lot of people. You said, growing up, I was a Bible reader, a verse memorizer, a parent obeyer, a youth group leader, a no booze, no sex or drugs kind of guy, 6 times a week church attender, and yet you still come to this place of absolute desperation.
Well, nobody had ever talked to me about Jesus' last words. Some of his last words to the disciples in John 13, where he says, I'm getting ready to leave, and where I'm going, you can't come,
right.
And you're going to be me on the planet. When I'm gone, you're me. And he said, so a new commandment I give to you, that you love one another, and then these key words, as I have loved you, that you love one another, and everyone will know that you're with me and that I come from God. Nobody really ever expressed to me in deep, intimate ways that as I have loved you part. I think everybody assumed that I kind of got that, and that all of these things that I was doing, which none of these were bad things, going to youth groups, a good thing.
Of course.
Memorizing Bible verses, a good thing. But nobody told me that those Bible verses alone and those deeds alone, eventually, man, I was going to flame out. Because if that's not empowered by this relational thing called love that God says is what's supposed to fill us up, if I'm not if I'm just believing in Jesus, but like John 15 style, now I want to tell you that you're my friends. I want you to love me. I want you to abide in my love. If we don't get that part, we're done. And so when I hit 36, after literally 31 years of doing all the right stuff, I was done. I was empty, and I had no more juice. And what I was looking for, what I desperately needed, but no one really had told me about or helped me experience, was the love of the Father for me. I knew he loved the world, but did he love me?
Yeah. I think it's a tough concept to grab a hold of, that the creator of the universe, of heaven and earth, the God who made everything, who spins galaxies and does all this amazing stuff. He loves me. He loves this guy in Toronto. He loves this guy in Detroit. And that's just, it's mind-blowing, isn't it?
And I think that's why, one of the reasons he sent Jesus. Now, most of the time when we're just embroiled in shame and we're empty and trying to prove that we're worth something, we look at all the stories of Jesus and we say, oh, they're intended to tell me what else I should be doing that I'm not doing. But I think most of those stories are intended to show us the way God views us. So, for example, the murderer on the cross, no name, coming from the literal dregs of Greco-Roman culture, because you didn't get put on a cross for purse snatching. You were the bottom of the food chain, and yet the Son of God is on that cross paying attention to this nobody that had done some really bad stuff. And instead of telling him all the religious hoops he had to jump through, when the man simply looked at him and said, could you be a king? Could you have a place for me in your kingdom? Jesus looked at him and said, even though you don't have a thimble full of theology or good deeds in your satchel, today you're going to be with me in paradise. I think Luke tells that story because that guy on that cross is me.
Yeah.
The Father sent Jesus for me. I think our need for that personal, individual love, Joe, is on every page and every line of the Gospels. We've just framed it into more of a how to deal with our shame by more performance. Jesus came to show us how the Father feels about each one of us.
Amen. Well, let me ask you a question. Are you getting it? Are you hearing it? God loves you. He loved you so much that he sent his only son to die on a cross for you. No matter what your background is, where you come from, he loves you. And that's the message of this book. That's the message of the gospel.